Welcome back, everyone. This is TopstepTV, the London session. As you can see, we have some people in here. We have a party going on. Now, let me just do the full screen on my Topstep X. We have Coach Ray. You know him, you love him. He is now becoming a permanent fixture and co-host for the London session. But we also have Paul H here. You've seen Paul before a couple of times. Let's just make sure that audio and video are all coming out. Yes, I'm getting the go-ahead. So welcome, Coach Ray, and welcome, Paul. So let's start with Coach Ray. How are you doing this fine evening? Because I know it's late.
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I don't know exactly. We just had our election, so we're kind of recovering here a little bit, trying to figure out exactly what's going on. So
Yeah, no one knows. No one knows.
yeah, exactly. A little bit of
Yeah,
uncertainty around here.
yeah. Paul, welcome. Very good to have you here. How's your morning going?
So far, so good. Yeah, it's a good start. It's a good start.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so we're going to be chatting a little bit about Paul's journey with Topstep, learning to trade. He's a fascinating individual. You're a DJ, you're a private pilot as well, so you have quite a few skills under your belt. Do you find that that the skills you already have, do they help you at all in your journey?
I think what I've found is certain elements have creeped into my trading and seem to have surfaced. Like, for example, with being a private pilot, you start off with very little capacity. The instructor does most of the work for you while you're learning how to handle the aircraft, etc., etc. But gradually, you get more and more on your lap. So you suddenly have to start dealing with the radio, and you have to start talking to other, the air to ground, or to air traffic, and whilst managing the aircraft, and then you're looking for a emergency landing field, and then you're looking for, your navigation, making sure you know where you are. You've got your situation awareness. All of that has built up a load of capacity, but it took a little while to do that. And what I'm finding is with trading, you sort of, when you're first looking at it, you're looking at one instrument, one market. You're looking for a trade. You're clicking the buy button like a nutter as often as you can, and not really
We've all been
taking
there.
in everything else that's going on around you and everything that's affecting this trade. And over time, I've realised that you actually need quite a lot of mental capacity. And where this has come into my trading is it's also realizing my own limitations, as in the amount of time I can trade for before I burn out and start making stupid decisions. Right. So
Yeah.
I think that's come about.
Yeah, that's the same for everyone, I believe. So with the mental capital, I think I was one of those who thought that I can just carry on trading for 2 sessions with no rest, no anything, and I've got to like fess up. Now, yesterday I locked up my 50K Express account at 200 and whatever it was, 60 or something. But then I had a pretty decent start to my live account. And then I carried on trading, and then by the end, I think I was down about 400 on the day. So nothing terrible, because I can kind of recognize that I'm not really doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But still, I could tell by the end of it that I was like, this is just me doing stupid things. So it will still happen as long as you kind of get ahead of it and not allow it to maybe make a huge hole in the account. It's okay. Now, Coach Ray, have you experienced anything similar? Have you, I mean, I know that you traded multiple things now, and that you still continue to do that. Did you have any issues with like exhaustion of mental capital and, sitting in
Yeah,
front of the screen for too long?
yeah. So I would say when I first started, I think everybody kind of gravitates to kind of the scalping kind of minute mentality, right? And I found it exhausting. They kind of have to kind of be so attuned with what's going on. So over time, I've kind of gravitated to kind of this intraday swing kind of model that we've kind of adopted, or I've adopted as a result of my interactions with you. And that's helped me tremendously, right? I can stock my levels wait for my
Yes.
levels, and decide. Little plug in for Market Stockers for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I've got my merch here.
Yeah, yeah. So it's funny because Coach Hogue used to call me the wildebeest trader.
Wildebeest. I know. Yeah. He
Yeah,
told me. Yeah.
yeah, because he used to comment that I, basically would hang around in the brush, wait for the three-legged wildebeest to come rumbling by, and that's when Coach Ray would pounce. So yeah, and I find that method of trading far easier on the mental capital. I don't exhaust myself as much as I used to. I take anywhere from 1 to 3 trades a session, and I'm good.
Yeah, I think that with my markets yesterday, I was focusing on crude oil. And
Hmm.
even though it was moving, it wasn't a mad sort of trending day that just kind of carried on. So I got involved in the live. Obviously, I did that little long during the London session, locked up
Hmm.
the XFA. And then I waited all the way till the euro close. So that was my short in crude oil. Actually, I think they took a similar trade in the house account yesterday. And
Hmm.
then I waited and waited and waited. And eventually it sort of got to like 35 ticks profit. And I was like, whoopee. But then we kind of got into the part of the day just before settlement. That always brings another counter trend move. And I saw a bunch of orders just stepping in to the buy side. So I quickly bailed, entered
Hmm.
again, and I managed to get a little bit out of it. But then I decided to kill it because I was like, well, I want to focus on ES. And this is where things went wrong because I'm like, okay, I'm sitting on a little bit of profit now. I have a little bit of space, right? No, you don't. You don't have mental capital. You don't have anything. And I could feel that I was so tired, but I was still
Hmm.
like, yes, I'm going to be trading ES. It's like, why are you doing that? So we all will slip back into it. It's not something that you can ever get rid of completely because, we all love this stuff, right? I know that I really enjoy the intellectual stimulation, but at some point, you have to recognize that maybe, just maybe, you need to take a bit of a break. So I do like taking power naps, but I am trying to do this like series 3 studying and everything. So that's sort of putting a bit of a wrench in the works with my schedule. Because when I should be doing a power nap, I'm doing the tests, right? so it's a little bit tricky. All right, let's have a look at the markets. Paul, you said you have a trade on. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the trade I put on was I did actually chase this a bit, so I'm not 100% proud of this trade, but it is working. So this is a setup that I picked up from the at the buzzer with Coach Jay and Coach Paul. And Coach Jay has this thing where he anchors the VWAP to
Yeah,
the
it's the urgency
first 30
trade,
minutes.
they call it actually. Yeah.
Urgency.
Yeah,
Sorry?
urgency trade. They call
Hmm.
it the urgency trade.
Yeah,
I
the
think
urgency trade, exactly.
yeah,
You can see here where VWAP suddenly shot up, and
yeah,
I took the trade on the 3 minute. I was waiting for a pullback off of the VWAP. Then what we saw was a much bigger volume candle here. Uh, Although this one here was the Globex Open, this one here had a huge spike in volume. So I
yeah.
anchored the VWAP there, and I was looking to come back to it. It got close, but not close enough. So I did in the end. It's like I could hear Coach Paul saying, "What's your market button, bro?" So I just took it.
Yeah, he's awesome.
So I got in. Now I took off 3 when I woke up this morning. I set a trailing stop on it after it was going to be in the green, even if my trailing stop was going to be hit. So I still set a trailing stop and went to bed 50 ticks. Then when I woke up this morning, we were all the way up here. So I sold 3 because I like to get the profit locked up as soon as I can. But now it's just going to keep trailing. I do have another take profit up here because on the 30-minute time frame, we're coming up on the 200 moving average. So I just want to take another one off about there. And then I'll just let this trailing stop work all day long.
Okay.
Because I never know when it's
Yeah.
going to stop, right? So we'll just see where that
Well,
ends.
no one
But
does. No
I've
one
been very
does. Yeah, but good trade. Yeah, nothing
Yeah,
to say
like
that. Urgency trade. Yeah, that's good.
that's kind of
I
good,
am
man.
actually, I've got to say, I am stalking a short in copper potentially this morning purely because of the options activity and stuff. We have the POC from yesterday's London trading too, and it seems to be slowing down. So the only thing I would say there is if we get the failed auction, well, I mean, you have your trailing stop anyway, so whatever happens, you'll still be locking in quite a bit of profit. So yeah, good trade.
Yeah,
Great
I
trade.
think
Excellent.
right now the trailing stop gets hit, it locks up 240 on top of the already realised. So
Yeah.
that to
So
me,
we have a question for Paul by Verti. What sort of music does he TJ?
right. So right now, I used to work in clubs. I did a lot of DJing in clubs, so I played a lot of club music. But right now, I do daily pop show on Mixcloud between 4 and 6. I'm very pleased with that show. It's 2 million users on Mixcloud, and it's the most popular pop show between 4 and 6. It's straight after fast markets. So just as fast markets ends, that's when I go on for 2 hours. And the reason I do that is because it forces me. It's been a daily show I've done for nearly a year and a half, nearly 2 years actually, coming up 2 years in February, but it forces me to get away from the market. I can't be
Yeah.
managing trades or doing anything else. I've been need to exit my positions, get out, go and do my show for 2 hours, reset my brain, and then I can look at maybe taking another trade during power hour with a completely different mindset. So um, it is the most popular pop show on Mixcloud during that time frame, and I'm very pleased with that. And we have a chat
Amazing.
in there, so people can come in and chat. But if anybody does check that out, can I just ask that we don't talk about trading? We have 2 rules in that show. One, we never mention trading. None of my listeners know I'm a trader. I'd like to keep it that way. It's a break away from trading. So the
Yeah.
last thing I want to do is be talking about trading. And number 2, we never talk about world events or politics or any of that. It's just a
Yeah.
safe
So
place
keep it
to get
positive.
away,
Yeah.
listen to the
Yeah.
news.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
that's
Excellent.
excellent.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
All right, Ray, are you stalking anything to this
I
before
mean,
this
I'm
morning?
looking at your failed auction. I see that you're kind of at
Yeah,
the edge of my behind there,
it's
and
happening. Yeah.
yeah, it looks like it is developing some sort of failed auction um, trade.
Yeah.
So
Well, for now, I don't want to fade Paul though. I feel like Paul is long,
It's
Dee's
all
gonna go
right. It's
short.
all good. It's all good because
yeah,
my trade is done essentially, right? It's
Yeah,
achieved
true.
more
Yeah,
than
yeah.
I
You're locking
expected.
in.
So
Yeah, you would be basically taking profits. If I want to enter, you would be taking profits there. So it's sort of like carry on the story of whatever's going on with the price action, and that's
yeah.
always a good thing. All right. So I was gonna kind of scan through the markets just to see is there anything else. I don't see anything particularly obvious apart from that copper. So let's take some more questions here. We have Servant Thought saying, what is settlement? Settlement used to be the old pit close. So it used to be the time when the pit would shut for the day. And back then, you wouldn't be able to enter or exit trades. So whatever you've done already, that is it. You would just have to walk away and take the day with you. Now, even though we have electronic trading these days where the markets carry on and you can still open and close positions, the volume will still massively drop off. And settlement is still the price that that clearinghouses use to kind of do mark to market. And what is that? Well, it's calculation of the margin every single day, right? So at the end of the day, they need to figure out whether the customers and clients have enough margin to maintain their open positions. And that is all done through the settlement price. So if you look on Financial Juice, even if you have just a free version like most of us, you will notice that they have these indications going, crude oil settles at this price, this settles at this price. Now, when the settlement will vary depending on what you're trading. So each of the instruments will have slightly different settlement times. So let's say copper actually settles probably the earliest out of them. So let me just see. To remind myself so I don't get this wrong. Yeah, so copper closes at 12 p.m. Central. So already at noon, copper is considered done for the day. Then about 5 minutes later, you have platinum that settles. And then at 12:30, gold settles. However, crude oil continues to trade for another hour after that. I mean, continues to trade. It trades anyways, but, the settlement is an hour later. So that would be 1:30 p.m. Central. So keep that in mind if you're looking for some breakout move to happen after those times, because you're going to be spending a lot of time watching paint dry. It's not a good look. And definitely exhausting for the mental capital. All right, so somebody's asking, how do you set up a trailing stop at Topstep? Now, I don't really use trailing stops like that. Like, if I'm going to move the stop anywhere, it will be sort of adding the stop loss that I already have and then moving it into profit. But you can add, I think you can add a trailing stop. Again, one day I'm going to figure out all the intricacies of this platform. We have Robert Cooney, our coach Robert, who is exceptionally good at all the functionalities. But I think with the trailing stops, I think it's done in the order part.
Yeah, it's done in the order thing.
Okay, so Paul, you seem to know more about this. Can you walk us through that?
I can show you how to do that. So basically, in the order window here, you've got your default is a market type, right? So if you just come down here, trailing stop is one of the options, and then you set the number of ticks that you want to be trailing and the size of the position that you want to exit. Another one of my favorites, rather than a trailing stop, is if I'm in a position like here, if this was now going upwards, I might set a market stop against that.
So it's basically so if you're long, that would be a sell stop, right?
Sorry, Dee, I turned my speakers down because I think they were echoing back. What was that?
All right. So yeah, I said when you're setting your trading stop like that, that would be effectively a sell stop against the buy position that's already in.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah.
So there's two ways of doing it. So the second way is more of a manual way. You kind of have a cutoff point, and you're like, right, here we go. This is where this particular trade is invalid, and I want to get out of it. Or you can do it directly when you're entering the market here. So yeah, okay, I can see that. So let me get to my screen. So here's the area that Paul was talking about. Let me just kill this components thing. So where it says market, you drop down, and it says trading stop, and from there you can set the trailing distance. Okay, so that's pretty simple and very straightforward. I think that's new. That wasn't there a few months back. So thank you, Paul. All right, so I think I'm going to be entering this copper trade short. So again, smaller position size because I just took some payouts. And I'm going to use, let's say, a 35 tick stop, and then I'm only aiming for the VWAP, which is at 130.25. We'll see whether this gets any traction. But for now, we seem to be having waning momentum. That's good. We also have a question, at what point is a failed auction confirmed? Now, the confirmation of the failed auction will always come from a 30-minute TPO. So when one of the candles returns and closes inside the initial balance, officially that means the failed auction is upon us. However, anytime you see weakness inside the initial balance and the price is sort of hanging inside the initial balance, I sometimes use that to front run the idea, and thereby on some occasion I might get a better price. Today we have a bit of a small initial balance, and this is why I'm aiming more for a neutral day type and for the market to create a range bound day and then maybe to turn around again. But for now, We're opening inside value, which can open up the possibility for that range-bound day, so probabilities go higher. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but for now it looks like it's showing some weakness. I do need it to go below this low here at 33.90. We have a bit of a spread, just like, you know, 1 or 2 ticks spread. So it is a thin market this morning. Not surprising. We had the FOMC later on. We had the elections. So it's all a little bit odd. Usually you'll see about 15 to 40 contracts on copper, but even on micro copper, but today that's not the case. It's a pretty thin market. So therefore this is just going to be a sim trade. So XFA, I do not want to be trading this when it's that thin in my live. All right, Ray, how are you doing over there?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm just looking at crude oil. Again, similar kind of thought process on this one, but maybe going the other direction.
I see, yeah.
A failed auction long, possibly, off of IB low here I'm seeing. But
we also have London value high here.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so that's at 71.22.
Yeah, so there's a couple reasons there, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at. I was kind of looking, kind of scanning the market to see what kind of opportunities out there. That's kind of what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, I mean, this could be a failed auction up to VWAP. So, you know, it does have a pretty nice profit margin. Not the biggest, but it's more scalp because, again, London can be a bit quiet on some days, even though we've had a lot more action recently. Okay, so let's see.
It's right on the 200 moving average as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All these
confluences. Yeah. Again, guys, it doesn't have to mean that it's all gonna work out, but it's nice to know multiple time frames, you know, lining up and all that. Okay, so we have another question. Is a failed auction same as swing failure pattern? I actually don't know what a swing failure pattern is. No. So I don't know, maybe, but so I don't know whether a swing failure pattern is that maybe a dead cat bounce version or something. Let me do a quick Google search, actually. Let me do a Mrs. Google thing. Swing failure pattern. Is it going to be one of those ICT things? Yeah. Let's see. Maybe not. Oh, God. Can we get normal candles? What is this? Like the 90s? You know when you're like searching something and then they give you the point and figure candle? And I have no idea how to read those. I'm like, just give me my Japanese candlesticks. That's what I want.
Yes, please.
Okay, so let's see quickly. Here we go. I found one of these to explain what we have. So let me get my screen in. There it is. Okay, so prerequisites. We must understand the concept of liquidity. Yes, we're there already. Let's keep going. A liquid asset, they can quickly buy and sell. Okay. Liquidity then just refers to the number of trades. Yes, thank you. Let's carry on into the actual pattern. We've been trading for a while. Oh no, we have ads. Beautiful. It's not going well so far. Let's wait until this thing does this thing. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. So flip to support. Yeah, okay. Sweeps low. I mean, why are they calling this the swing failure pattern? Let's carry on. God, I didn't ask for, you know. We're going to have another ad. Oh, brilliant. Okay, so we're almost there, guys. We're almost there. We're gonna learn something today. What is a swing failure pattern? I am committed now. Okay. I've got 2 ads.
Here, I always learn something.
Spotting the pattern.
Yes, there we go. This is what we want.
It's simple.
Yeah, simple. Yeah, first they give us the life story, and then it's like, it's rather simple. Here it is. Start with that. Like, what is it with these bloggers and stuff that they have to do this, like, extraordinary intro? If you didn't know what it was, it's like, if I didn't know what liquidity sweeps were, I probably would have looked up what is a liquidity sweep, not what a swing failure pattern is. I don't know, that's just me, but there you go. So let's see. So key high, price tries to push above, but buying is absorbed by high selling pressure, so that results in so this is kind of, to me, this would more be like a consolidation that resolves itself into an engulfing. With the failed auction, though, it's not necessarily any kind of a consolidation. It can actually happen pretty quickly. And the premise of it is that you're going to try, people trying to go for a breakout, but then effectively running out of volume to the, let's say, the upside if we're looking at this copper trade, and then a ton of volume coming in to the downside because they sort of popped those stops. So it's similar, but at the same time, they don't have to pop any stops. Sometimes you're just creeping up to a key level and there's just no power to push higher. So they sort of pop just outside the initial balance. You see that happening in ES all the time. It kind of pops it by about 2 ticks, and then it turns around and goes into a very, very nice sell-off. And similarly to the upside, you can have the same thing. So I would say, to me, this is more, the swing failure pattern is based on more of a consolidation prior to that kind of creates a temporary high and some sort of a Dolby range style kind of thing, and then does the whole jump off a cliff and turn around. So similar, yes. But I think the failed auction is a quicker thing. It's not really a swing. It's more of an intraday setup, even though it does offer a good profit margin. So that's my take on it. Ray, what do you reckon? What's your take on
Yeah,
this?
I don't know about you, but I've had my fair occasion of failed breakouts, right? So, these situations when we have failed auctions, they're swift, as Dee has mentioned, right? So we're looking at levels like initial balance here, right? So if we get a peak below and there's no participants in that direction, well, guess what? It's going to come back pretty vigorously in the other direction. So I think it's similar, but I think I agree with Dee. It's definitely a little bit different.
Yeah. So, I mean, the devil is in the detail when it comes to trading and looking at, failed auction versus maybe a bigger swing pattern. But to me, failed auctions are always to do with velocity of the price as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, right now, we're not getting that on copper, right? It's kind of hanging. However, there is a difference between looking for a failed auction and then trying to figure out whether you might have a range-bound day. Now, today, I'm actually looking more towards a range-bound sort of situation. Why? Because we had a very, very big day yesterday. So if I go to the daily chart, this was a huge jump off a cliff yesterday. Yeah? Look at this candle. I mean, it's relentlessly massive. And it sort of created a megaphone pattern, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
This is like from 3 years ago. So yeah, we had this range that I was pinging back and forth. I don't even know how many trades I've done off of that. Like literally every day, it's like, another range, look for high, look for low, bounce, bounce, bounce. And now we came up to the next high, almost, this little supply here, and then expanded the entire range. So is it possible that this is a continuation and maybe we can look at this as a dropped style, in which case the stopping point for this entire move at some point will be all the way, let me move this up, closer to these areas. That's going to be 414.50 roughly, right? But if we take the intraday outlook that after such massive days, typically you don't have a day that is equally massive, but it kind of gets stuck in more of a range, even though this is still a very, very nice move from Asia. And Paul caught that a good chunk of that move, which is excellent. So to me, this is more now to see whether the day is slow, and just by the fact that we had a pretty small initial balance. Right now, London is not doing that much. So I'm hypothesizing that London is actually going to be quiet after all of this this nice move, nice uptrend that Asia worked so hard on. So now I'm looking for a smash to the opposite side, maybe a VWAP test overnight, maybe. But if it doesn't get there, I would be perfectly happy getting like 35 to 50 ticks out of this as well. However, my default target is always going to be 70 ticks to begin with. And then if it's not quite working, I will then actively manage the trade. So I think the potential for a failed auction here is not really there. But this looks like a failed auction. However, it's a potential range-bound day purely based on the velocity of the price, which is not present at the moment. That's a big, big difference between range-bound drifting through the range and a failed auction that's a big, decisive momentum type move that traverses the initial balance very, very quickly, or at least half of it. So that's the defining difference for me in where I'm going to take this off. Now, because we're just hypothesizing in neutral day type, I do have the profit margin to the opposite side and a little bit past the initial balance low. If I don't get that, then this entry is dead in the middle of the initial balance, and this is the crappiest trade that I've done recently. So, my outlook of how the market is doing will change with the market-generated information. And I think that sort of flexibility and objectivity is something pretty difficult to develop, but at the same time, it's endlessly useful if you can get there. So that's kind of my take on that. All right, let's have a look
What
at...
I was going to say on that,
Yeah.
Dee, is that you guys and Topstep, the coaches, really do a fantastic job of explaining these subjects so well. And it's one of the things that I like most about Topstep is that you'll get something from each and every coach. And you're not going to use all of these ideas, and you're not going to take on board all of these things, but you are going to pick out, I like this that Dee does, I like that Jay does, I like this that Coach Ray does, I like this that, do you know what I mean? And then eventually you form your own strategy, because these guys are teaching you how to fish. That's what they're doing. They're teaching you how to fish. They're not trying to feed you, here's a great trade, take this now, go short here, go long there. That's not what this is about. It's about teaching you how to spot these things yourselves. And you guys,
I always comment about training to become a fisherman, right? So we're basically training fishermen, right? We're not giving you fish. Right.
Yes, exactly.
So if I train you to be a fisherman, you feed yourself for a lifetime. If I give you fish, then you only trade as much as I'm willing to give you fish, right? So that's kind of the distinction. I think that maybe Topstep coaches overall are really teaching folks to fish, not to be given fish. So.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, isn't that the point? I always dislike whenever somebody's like trying to scream in the chat, the one-liners, buy ES now.
Yeah.
And it's like, why?
Why?
What?
Exactly.
Give me a reason why. Maybe I'll consider it. Well, it's
Exactly.
going up. No, not good enough.
And by the time you get around to coming around.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the excitable hyper scalpers. Always love those.
Yes.
She said sarcastically. All right. All right, so let's have a look at some more questions. What is my VWAP setting? So my VWAP setting is just Globex open, and I call it the overnight VWAP. I think many of us do, but basically it's just the normal setting, default setting that you get from Topstep. I don't know whether I think you can have different things, but I'm using open, high, low, close divided by 4. So that's mine. I don't know whether that's a default. I think it is. But again, don't quote me on that because I could have changed this to match my other platform where I use the same sort of calculation. And then it's just immediately anchored to the Globex open. So I don't have to do anything there. I find that overnight VWAP is much more useful for London. Sometimes I will use session VWAP if we're coming up to sort of 3-4 hours of trading, and then we're in a range-bound day, and I want to use that session VWAP intraday based on the regular trading hours as my profit target for like range-bound trading. So I know Coach Ray is a big VWAP guy, so I'm also going to let him take the stage.
Yeah, no, I coined the phrase, "Have you hugged your VWAP recently?" I mean, I think
Yes.
that's kind of says it all, right? Because if we don't move in any one direction for very long before Price wants to come back to home and hug his mom. So,
Yes. Yeah. Back to
right.
the
So
comforts.
yeah, a little comfort in coming back
The
to
comfort zone.
coming back to VWAP. So for like, mean reversion trades and things of that nature, they make it, VWAP makes excellent targets. I think if you can get VWAP in sort of directional slopiness, right? Either the bearish side or to the bullish side. VWAP also makes good locations for entry continuation
Yep.
entries as well.
Yep.
So right. So those are a couple of areas where I use VWAP. Now, the only thing that I would say that you need to be careful with VWAP is when you get a flat VWAP, right? If
Yeah.
the VWAP is flat, then chances are you are very much in range, and that's where combines go to die, right?
Yeah.
Because you're never in the right direction. You're just flip flopping around VWAP on a flat VWAP in a range day, and you don't understand why it's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
So
I always say on a range bound day, if you start to feel like the market, like let's say you go in long, it goes against you. You go in short,
right,
it goes against you. It's very likely that you run into a time of day when the directional move is probably not a good choice, even if
hmm
you were in a directional move up to that point. Market state can change intraday. So you can have trend, 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 and then you run into a lunch hour, and then it's like, wow, 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 we just flatten
yeah,
everything out, and it doesn't go anywhere. So when you start thinking, I think I'm wrong here, let me flip. And then you flip, and then you're still wrong, and it still goes against you, you're
yeah,
probably in a range. So
yeah,
consider stepping away and just going, hold on a minute, is there a Dolby
yes,
range here? Is there a Dorito pattern forming? Can I maybe do something with that rather than
yeah,
constantly fishing for a momentum trade? And that sort of awareness will save you and save the combine. But
mm,
Ray is absolutely right. As soon as you get flat VWAP, that VWAP needs to be your target, not your
right,
point of entry.
correct, correct.
So that's
So
how I
that's what I would
use.
say is probably the biggest thing that you need to be careful with.
Yeah,
You can't just embrace it blindly, right? You
yeah,
always have to kind of ask yourself the question, is price behaving the way I would expect it to behave, right? And if it's not, then you need to start looking at maybe making a elegant exit away.
yeah, yeah. Is there such a thing, elegant
Yeah,
exit?
no,
Or is
but
it
I think
more like a bitch slap?
yeah,
I
Like,
think
ooh.
if I see
that
myself
was
being wrong over and over again, then what I tend to do is just wait for another 30-minute candle to
Yeah,
complete. Do
yeah,
you know what I mean? Just
yeah,
take your hands off the table, off the
correct,
keyboard until the
yeah,
correct,
next 30-minute candle's done, and then come back with fresh eyes. And
yeah.
yeah.
I
So
call it
Paul,
penalty box, right? So I don't
penalty
know
yeah,
box,
soccer terms.
yes.
yeah,
In
Yeah,
100%.
soccer terms, right? So if it behaves completely opposite of what I expected, that instrument is now put in the penalty box for 15 minutes. I
yeah.
don't look at that
Yeah,
instrument for
love
15
it.
minutes.
Interesting. Yeah. Paul, tell me how long you've been trading. Remind me.
So 4 years in total, and I started in 2019, and I was trading small caps with an online. So I started trying to, oh, Apple's going to go up this month, and it doesn't,
Yeah,
and all of that
yeah,
sort of thing. Oh, I know what's happening here. This is a dead cert. One of my best trades that I remember was I bought a small cap trade in Virgin Orbit because it was like, it's Virgin Orbit, it's Richard Branson, that's never going to fail, and it
it
went to
has to go up,
zero.
right?
It has to go up. Yeah, the famous last words.
So I learned very quickly that actually I know jack about these companies on a fundamental level, etc., etc.
Mm,
But so yeah, I was a small cap trader for about 3 years, using my own capital with a broker that I needed 30K to put in the account to even open the account. And all I kept doing was losing money. And then one of my buddies, my trading buddy, Charlie, strong-armed me into Topstep. He said, you've got to try equities, mate. You've got to try Topstep. You're not putting your own money at risk. You can just buy a combine. It's cost you, $50 for crying out loud.
yeah,
Peanuts.
Give it a
Yeah.
go.
fraction of the cost.
A
Yeah.
fraction of the cost. And I came to Topstep in January this year. So futures is brand new to me. But I am now, after 11 months, finding that I've got some setups that are consistent. And what I'm working on now is trying to work out what market time is best for me. I've got a combine that I created for fast markets that I only trade during the fast market show. I've got another one set up for slow markets, which is the one the copper long is in, which is the overnight thing from Dakota and Coach Jay. And then I've got my primary one that I'm working on at the moment, where I love these sessions with Dee because it's London. Right, first and foremost, it's London, and we get an insight over this London period as to how the day might progress, and it really does help me get some sort of not necessarily a directional bias, but it helps me get a feel for whichever market it is that I want to trade that day, and then just wait for the setups. About 4 years now I've been trading.
That's amazing. That's amazing progress for 4 years.
Yeah,
I've
that's
known,
absolutely right.
yeah, I mean, I've known people who struggle for 10, 15 years and they're still spinning their wheels. And I mean, obviously you have some skills that are unusual, and I think they are definitely helping you to get there much quicker than somebody who's coming from a more regular background, let's say.
Right.
And that will always help. I always talk about being aware of the things that you can do outside of trading, and then trying to translate those sort of skills into trading. So for me, I was a musician. I'm very good at patterns, obviously, because musicians are generally good at patterns. I have a monstrously good memory. So to the point that I know like thousands of songs in my head. And that translated well into trading, photographic memory, pattern recognition, and obviously the methodics of practice, which, I've used on all of the instruments that I played. So I'm a multi-instrumentalist. I did do piano very young, so I started when I was 3 or 4 years old. Then I moved into flute, then eventually into saxophone, and eventually into electric guitar. And I can also play some basic drums as well. Not that I ever practiced that. It's just something that, I don't know, I was a producer for a long time. I started producing at 13. So all of that led to me being able to translate some of my skills into trading and to practice every weakness that I noticed pretty extensively, and to try and minimize the impact of those weaknesses on my P&L. So whenever people are like, oh my God, you're doing two different things, to me, music and trading are actually part of the same equation. I know it sounds weird, but they are. To me, it's like every piece of order flow, tool, and algorithmic ranges, options activity, time of day, all of that to me is like pieces of parts of the orchestra that are all working in sync to give me a song, a symphony, right?
Yeah.
And everything has to get into the puzzle properly. Otherwise, you're going to have, a cacophony of sounds, not a symphony of sounds, right? So if something is not lining up, I will step back and I will be like, time of day a bit wrong for this move. And I will wait. And then if it happens outside of the time of day when I've observed things happening most often, so be it. I don't care, right? So this is where, like Paul says, you have to step away, wait for your setup, be patient. Most people just want to click buttons. It's like, great.
I've just been reminded of one of my pilot lessons that I was taught by my instructor. Something he taught me that I use in trading. I've paraphrased it. He said, it's better to be on the ground wishing you was in the air than in the air wishing you was on the ground, referring
yes,
to,
tricky.
to bad weather, right? And it's like, it's better to be out the trade wishing you was in it than in a trade wishing you was out. Right? It's absolutely true,
that's a great point. Yeah, that's one of those things that should go on the motivational side of things. Put it on your wall,
Yeah, I mean, I think the game changer for me, I think over my span of time in trading, I think is really focusing in on levels, focusing on price levels. I think we get all gravitated to these candles that kind of attract us to do things that we maybe later regret, right? So, being patient and waiting for the level to come, right? Being disciplined and waiting for the level to come. I think that's, I think was kind of the game changer for me in, finding some consistency in trades. Because again, when it comes time to review your trades, you can actually explain it, right? Sometimes I get to a trade, I said, I have no clue why I entered this trade other than this big red candle or this big green candle. Why? Why am I
Chasing,
getting,
yeah.
right? Where, yeah, FOMO, you're FOMO, right? It's just overwhelmed with FOMO. So again, the game changer for me, for folks that are in the audience that are kind of still struggling, find levels where you see buyers, find levels where you see sellers, and then I focus on those areas. And I think you do yourself a whole lot of.
So I'm going to add something to that. A candle, a pattern, or anything means nothing if you don't have an orientation level.
Mm-hmm.
If it's in the middle of nowhere, it means nothing. So it's like, what are you chasing? So we need level, price action, then entry, well, risk, then entry, right? That should be like your little flow chart. I killed my trade because I think the entry, even if I'm right, and I think it's still valid, like there's nothing really that's breaking the idea. It's just that the entry that I entered was a little bit meh. So just looking at the structure. Somebody asked if I can show my TPOs, so I'm going to do that. I'm just going to drag my other platform over, just so I can show you why I'm thinking that my entry was shit. Okay, so we're opening inside value. And, okay, so the value is sizable, right? So let me just clear up some of this stuff. The value area is pretty big, so this is the value area, all of that. Now, the initial balance is reasonably small, right? It's only like 40, 50 ticks or something, 46 ticks. Now, if I'm going to get a good trade location, I got in based on my ribbon, without looking at this. I got in sort of here at 434. That's middle of the initial balance. That is a terrible location. So now that I'm a little bit more awake and I had another half of the espresso, I was like, yeah, that's still valid, but I really need to be in closer to this POC up here. And we have two lots of POC. One is the volume POC from 4 weeks worth of moves. And another one is the yesterday's POC from London. So we have two potentially big confluences that could be a wrench in the works for further movement, purely because of the amount of trading that has happened here. However, if we break through it, if we carry on sort of creeping upside, that's building even more volume. And then that's where flipping to support idea can come back in. But for now, this is still okay. I just need a better trade location. So wake up, Dee, and get your act together. If I don't get that, and if I just manage to, lose a trade or whatever, or it doesn't work out, that's fine. I'm probably going to move on to something else. So I'm not going to keep grinding on micro copper, poor copper, and torturing myself and it for hypos. I'm probably going to look at platinum, maybe wait for a better part of the day. And maybe just give up some moves, just see whether they can shake things up a little bit more. And then we're going to be looking for some completely new areas to trade. So that's how I would approach a trade that didn't work out. Try again. If that doesn't work, wait or move on to something else. Depends on whether you're trading multiple things or not. And if you're a newer trader, definitely don't trade your multiple products, because that's going to be horrible.
Yeah.
Try not to have a bias as well. I mean, last night, it was the night before last, I think it was Coach Jay said he thought platinum was probably going to go to the moon the next day. And so
it did not.
and it did not. And I kept thinking to myself, I agree with Jay. So I'm going to go long. No, failed. $150 loss. I'm going to go long again. No, failed. $100 loss. Okay. Well, it's definitely going to go long this time. And it didn't. And it just hit the max daily loss, which I have set at 400 on that account. And it's like, well, what was the point of that? It's like, just don't have an opinion. Wait to see what the market's telling you.
I force people, when they come to me for coaching, I force them to create 4 hypotheses, 2 longs, 2 shorts. Ray, you're going to know this very well.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
so Ray has been through my Marcus
Yes, I'm an
Stalker's.
alum. I'm an alum.
Yeah, exactly. You've graduated. You are. You've even surpassed, my skills as well. And that's always nice to
No.
see. Oh, come on, man. You're more patient than I am. I can tell you
Oh, okay,
that. Yeah, you
maybe.
are. You are. Because I still have days where I will trade like 7 or 8 trades, and you're
Mhm.
like, traded 2, maybe 1. It's cool. And D is
Yeah,
like, I've done 3. I'm up on the day. Let's trade more. So, I have that crazy streak inside me. It's
yeah,
never fully gone, but
yeah,
it's reined in. I am aware of it, and this is where we have to work with our emotions rather than against them.
mm,
And I will still lose a little bit of control every so often, because
yeah,
I'm a Mediterranean person. I'm
yeah,
super
yeah,
passionate, and I was a
yeah,
musician for a long time. We have a lot of drive in us, and we're crazy bastards. Let's face it.
yeah,
A lot
yeah.
of us are
yeah,
not
we are.
exactly normal people, right?
We
Well, I
wouldn't
mean,
be doing this
it's
if we
difficult. It's
weren't.
difficult to trade like robot, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
at the end of the day, we're still human, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
there are going to be days where we're on top of our game, and other days when we're not on top of game. And the sooner we recognize that, the better off we are. The better off our accounts are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that when I am super aware of it, I showed my mental game thing the other day, and that's something that I have to do nearly every couple of days, right? Sometimes even intraday. If I notice that I'm slipping off my game, I will go
Hmm.
back to my mental sheet and I'll go,
Hmm.
what did I do here? Okay, flipping and
Yeah,
flopping between a level. So not
yeah,
having a clear idea of whether you want to be a buyer or a seller there.
right,
It's all very well to have a line in the sand, but you still need to have an idea of what the highest probability direction of that trade should be. And if you don't, it's probably not a good level. that's
right,
that's one
right.
of my rules. But when it comes to the flexible bias, if you allow yourself to create the hypotheses for both sides of the story, that's actually a much better choice to unglue you from any sort of a bias. Because you're going,
Hmm.
okay, so let's say, just to use this copper trade as an example. So I have a level of 35 as a potential reversal area, right? So that's the primary thing that I'm looking at here. Why? Because we have a lot of volume there. We have some options, open interest that's quite sizable around that level, and it could act as a resistance. So should I now try going long here? Oh, breakout. Oh, are we breaking out? Oh, I'll just go long. That would be
Yes.
just paper cutting myself, right?
Yeah.
So no, I don't want to go long here. I would want to go long maybe from VWAP when we create a neutral side of things.
Right.
But breakouts here, that's too much. Like, look at how much it's come up already. What am I doing?
Mm.
Like buying the top? Yeah, well done, Dee. Great trade. So, you know, not to say that I
You
haven't
call
done it
buying
before.
retail, right?
Buying
So
retail,
Yeah.
yeah, you're going to
Yeah.
pay a lot of money if you
mm,
get involved here. So where is the best available price for
mhm,
longs?
yeah,
Well, it's going to be VWAP, where the
It's
other
going to be
lots of
VWAP all the
volume
way down
is
there.
there. Yeah. So, and what do we have at that point contextually? We have a neutral day type, right? So at that point, you have not just the fact that we're opening inside value, so we are in balance from yesterday's London session, went all the way down, now we came all the way up. There's nothing, right? So what is the best logical step? Well, to have one short planned around this area here, and then to have one long planned around this area. And then you can have two backup hypos as well. Let's say that I see a very funny question in the chat about how many mugs I've got. Yeah, I've got an array of mugs, man, all different drinks.
all different espressos.
Depends
Exactly.
on the time of day,
Yeah,
right? It's
you,
like
you
you get
should.
more and more mugs as the day goes
Yeah,
on.
yeah, exactly. They just build up, and then a couple of plates as well. So
I got
I have
plus
my
butter.
espresso. Yeah, I have my water. I have my
Yes.
tea. How many do you need?
Yes.
Yeah, so back to the hypos thing. Having, let's say, one breakout hypo is okay, but you have to really justify why would it break out of this area. You have to have some sort of a catalyst behind it. So let's say today we might have FOMC, and you can say, well, maybe they're going to keep going into this liquidation phase of, short covering, and they're just going to keep going up. So what would I need to see to get involved in a breakout? Well, certainly not this same level. I need more information. So my third hypo would be if we actually break out and leave some single prints on the profile. I can then use the overlap of the next TPO to limit my risk and to assume that we're going to keep going. Then the third choice would be if we do have the single prints, but they get closed down and we reach initial balance high. That could be a point of entry for further longs. But as it stands right now, we have a potential for a range-bound day. So that would be three hypos. One short here, one long at VWAP, another long as a breakout, and maybe later on in the day, fading that. So, you're working with longs and shorts, and that way you're never going to be caught, oh my God, what happened? You have a contingency plan for each of these with different levels, not at the same level, not going long here, short here, long here. Define exactly what you want to see, and then look for that evidence in the actual price action. But that takes time to learn. It takes experience. It takes a lot of hours staring at this stuff day in, day out, and journaling. Just pure observation is not going to do much for you, right? Just kind of going, well, I'm going to sit here, I'll put in the hours. No, you didn't. You sat there and you stared at the charts. That's not useful. That's, just go and watch Netflix if you're going to do that. It's going to be more relaxing, certainly. But if you want to raise your skill sets, you need to do observational data collection, data gathering. Even if you're not in a trade, just observe what's happened. So what do we have now? We had a failed auction. We have a small initial balance. We had a rotation back up to the supply where we turned around. So again, we're still in range. We have a range. That's all that's happening here. So that's something that can go into your journal even if you're not in a trade. We didn't move higher. We had seemingly a fake out failed auction, but it was very slow. So probably not a true failed auction. Is this a range bound day? And then you build a story around that. That's what we mean when we say market-generated information. You build a story around the developing levels, trying to be as objective as possible. At least that's how I do it.
Yeah.
Can I add to that?
Paul, when he does this, prepares for a flight, right? There's a bunch of checkpoints that he needs to make before he boards that plane, right? So the same is true in trading. Now, I was kind of looking at this. I'm glad you put this up. Right now my initial thought process was failed auction long. Now it's looking like more of a sustained auction down because you can see the 4-hour chart. I mean, that's as good of a red candle you're going to see, right? So we have to, as Bruce Lee would say, we need to be like water, right? Let's talk about your flexible bias, right? So.
Yeah, I did actually take a short on crude as well, but that again, it's like, well, the reason for this trade was that the VWAP for the London session is just suddenly taken this downturn. Then when we broke, and I still didn't take it while we were here, right? But once we came up and retested the 200 moving average on a 30-minute time frame, it's like that's a conviction for me to get in short. And so there's my profit there. It's only 3 lots.
You have them.
Yeah, it's only a small one, right? It's only 3 lots, and I'm going to take 2 of them off here. And then just let the rest run. But yeah, the other thing I was going to say is if you like, I used to listen to you guys talk about journaling and journaling your trades and staying on top of reasons for getting in and blah blah blah. And I used to think that's ridiculous. How can I journal all my trades? I've done. I'm doing trades every 3 minutes. That's what you're doing wrong, mate. Slow down, do less trades, and you'll have time to journal, right?
Yes. So every so often I run this payout incubator with a small group of people, and I had someone a couple of months back who was actually on the stream. Maybe, they're watching, but I'm not going to mention the name now, put him on the spot. So basically the question was, hey, Dee, how do I journal 300 trades a day? And I was like, dude, if you're the same person that just signed up for the payout incubator, I'm going to give you your money back like right now. Because if you think that I'm going to be looking at 300 trades that you've done per day, you think again. And I said, you can't journal that. Lower the number of trades. But I'm a scalper. Great. How are you doing? I blow accounts every 2 weeks. I see.
Yeah.
But it works. Yeah, for 2 weeks it works. It doesn't work. Okay, time is the only true judge of how good your system is. There's no other thing, right? Whatever risk rewards, accuracy, percentage, and combination you have, time is the real judge. Just remember that. If you can't sustain an XFA, if you can't sustain any sort of combine longer than 2 weeks, your system isn't working. I'm sorry. It's either the mental side of it, you can't handle it, or it's just not working past 2 weeks.
No.
Too much size, risk of ruining very high. There's reasons.
Dee, you've just brought me onto something that I did want to mention if we got time to do this, which is the account management. Right, we talk a lot about risk management on the trades, but we don't hear an awful lot about account management. And I think Dee said to us in one of her broadcasts recently that she uses a personal daily loss limit of, I think you said 25% of your available balance, right?
Yeah.
Coach Paul says 12.5% of his available balance.
That would be on the lives, though. So on the lives, I have a lower DLL.
Yeah. So I thought, well, I'm going to go somewhere in the middle, right? And this is what I'm talking about. It's like, so when my account balance is, let's say, let's look at a 50K combine, right? A 50K combine, you've got a total max drawdown of 2,000 when you open the combine. So if you take 20% of that, it's what I don't know what that is actually. I can't do it. It's 400, something like that. As a max daily loss. Now that doesn't mean you've got to hit that, right? It's not something to aim for, but it's like I do not want to lose more than 400 in a day on a combine when I've only got 2,000. Now, if I took that loss, now I'm going down to Coach Paul's idea of 12.5% because now I've got less than the 2,000 that I had to go. So with the remainder, 1,600, I'll only take 12.5% of that and set that as my new daily personal daily loss until I'm back in the realms of having a 2,000 drawdown again, and then I can maybe up it a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the perfect way to look at it. But Paul, do you know how many people don't actually get that? They're like, it's a 50K account. It's nominal value. You have 2,000 to start with. You have to build a buffer. But it's 50K account. Nominal value based on the margin requirement that you would need to trade that. But it's 50K.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah. It's not.
It's a 2K account when you start.
It's a 2K account. That's all you've got.
Yeah. And sure, you can build that. And you can be very aggressive with it because it's a prop account, right? So most of us will be more aggressive in prop. That's the whole point, scaling up. But that's not to say that you're supposed to, open up a new combine and then dig a hole for what 1.5K immediately. It's like that's gonna take you. Like, why make things so difficult for yourself? Just start slow. This whole coffee account that I have, I started super slow. I had a pretty decent first day, but again, I've showed this so many times. It's really not big P&Ls. This is all just small P&Ls comparatively, right? Very small P&Ls. Most of the days are like 200, 600, 200. And it builds up. It just builds up. And that's what you're looking for. You're not looking for, immediate buffer. I had somebody in the chat, I think it was during the main broadcast or somewhere, maybe it was on Twitter, but they basically responded when you're in a combine, you expect to see like 50,000 or 150,000, but then when they put you in the XFA, it starts from zero and that derails my mental capital. That is the reason why I'm failing. And I'm like, that's not the reason why you're failing. The reason is that you're sizing up too much, you're trading too much, you're not managing that account appropriately, and not
trading the same way they traded when they passed the combine.
No,
right?
But maybe they are. Maybe they
now
are.
Now my restrictions are off me. I can,
what
And
I'm
another thing,
seeing is that too
yeah,
many people trade their XFAs like they're yellowing combines, and then they pass in
Right.
2 days and they try to do the same thing in XFAs.
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
Don't try and pass a combine in 2 days, because if you try and pass a combine in 2 days and then take that into the XFA, you're just going to blow $150
yes,
that it cost you to upgrade the combine.
yeah.
It's pointless.
Words of
Make
wisdom.
these combines last as long as you can make them last. Keep them there for testing out strategies, etc., and use them for what they're for. I mean, yes, I know you've got to pass the combine, and I do intend to pass the combines, but but that's not the primary focus. The primary focus is on the function of the trade, how you're managing your risk, how you structure your trade, and then the money will come.
Right.
Just don't be in a rush, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
People
more
are rushing.
important to have a strategy that is consistent in a combine, so that when you get to the XFA, your $150 isn't wasted money.
Yeah.
Because now you're going to carry on doing exactly what you did before and just keep gradually growing that account. Set yourself a target of $200 a day for the first 5 days, right? That's a good way to do it. Lock it up when you're up $200 every day for the first 5 days, because now you qualify for a payout.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Until you do
Yeah.
that, it's
But
just
but let's also talk about payouts for a second before we kind of sign off. With the payouts, I see many people who are doing the following: they build up 5K or 2K, take $1,000 out, and then carry on trading the same size. It's like, that's too much. You don't have a buffer to keep trading as if you had 2,000 in there. For example, I had $9,000 in here, took a payout of nearly 4.5, and I can't trade full contracts yet, okay? Because it's only 4.6K in the account. So I have to build it back up to like 8 or 9 in order to get back, or at least 7, at least to cover half of the payout that I've taken out. And that's account management. That's not even on a per trade basis or anything. It's just like, I don't have that much buffer because I took payout. Now I need to adjust my positioning so that I don't blow up the XFA, thinking, well, I banked 4.5 in this one, so yeah, it's all good. No, you can still blow this in 3.5 seconds. Trade 2 and 3 lots. This is going to go in like 1 day. In 1 day of losing control, or sizing up a bit because you're like, oh, I want to, get there faster and get the next payout. That's the wrong way to look at it. You almost have to completely detach yourself from the regular thinking and do the opposite to everybody else. So everybody else wants to keep trading size because the next payout should be quicker. Your next payout should also take a while to get there, right? Just because you can't take a payout after 5 days, if you don't have enough buffer in there, maybe you shouldn't take 50% out. Take 20% out. You don't have to take 50% out, okay? You have to manage the account on the account balance level, not the daily loss limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the turtle and the hare, right? Who won the race?
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I have a tattoo on my arm that I keep mentioning. Haste makes waste. Less haste, more speed. Yeah.
Right.
All right, guys, we're going to finish it up on that high note of bashing people, how they don't manage accounts. Paul, thank you so much for being with us. And Coach Ray, again, I really appreciate you being my co-host. You are always fun to talk to. You are amazing at looking at the markets. Somebody asked about the CL trade. Am I crazy for selling here? No, you're not crazy for selling there. There was a volume profile. Again, I'm just going to drag over this because it's easier. If I show you the volume profile, you will see there was a little hole in low volume node yesterday. So we reached this area and we rejected it. So this is sort of a continuation of that story, and going into a value acceptance during London would speak to that. But we did have a pretty sizable move down, and therefore for me, shorts at that level were a little bit too far. So it's kind of like selling the bottom intraday, and that's the reason why neither me nor Coach Ray were looking at shorts there. But it was a valid trade. It was a valid trade, and we saw Paul took it. It's just for my sort of risk appetite and good trading location from that bird's eye view, I didn't think it was the highest probability trade. Let's put it like that. Okay, so that is it for today. Thank you so much, Paul, for joining us. This was an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Mate.
So much wisdom, so
Thank you,
much
mate.
wisdom.
Thank you.
In a short time.
Yeah, very short time. 4 years is very, very quick. So congratulations on
Yeah, absolutely.
pushing forward in the right direction. Not to mention the futures are very new to you as well. And here you are already on TopstepTV, and you're doing well. You're calling out very nice quality trades. So yeah, I'm very impressed, and I would I'm gonna love seeing you grow more. So yeah, this is the end of the stream, guys. Let's do a like for Coach Ray and for Paul H. So if you're here for the first time and you have no idea what's going on, just subscribe to the channel. This is a big channel, TopstepTV. We have free education, and we're also a prop firm. And this is the London session on TopstepTV. I'm going to say some plugs now, as usual. You guys know the drill now if you've been here for a while. Now, if you're a small business owner, they say send us your gear, right? So obviously I have mine. There it is. Bob on a mug. We're looking for traders who also own a small business, and they want their hats, shirts, coasters featured on TopstepTV. So you can fill out the form that I'm just going to drop in the chat, and you can send us some stuff so you can feature your company on TopstepTV. And I'm just going to remind you that Coach Dakota will be having a Topstep Labs Q&A, so ask me anything, private 2-hour Q&A session, which will be happening on Wednesday, November the 13th at 5 p.m. Central. There are only 20 slots available, and the winners will be announced on Monday. So get that sorted. Get in there if you want to ask our lovely Coach Dakota a whole bunch of questions. This is it. We are coming to the end of the stream. I have a problem signing off, as usual. But thank you, Paul. Thank you, Ray. Absolute pleasure to be here with you guys. This was TopstepTV, and I'm Deeyana Angelo. Enjoy the rest of the broadcast. Take care.